right now your child is really sharing with you. You want to shut your mouth and listen.
You're listening to the Wow podcast. I'm Jennifer Robin. This content is for informational purposes only, not medical advice. Full disclosure in the description. We're joined by Betti Rooted Lionheart, a shamanic healer who helps people transform trauma, rage, grief, and despair into voice, power, and purpose. Welcome, Betti.
Hi, Jennifer Robin. Thank you for having me.
We're going to talk about teens and what's going on right now with so many of them that are obviously being affected by what's going on in the world, what's going on in society, and they're just kind of withdrawing, dropping out, kind of sinking into themselves. What do you think is happening beneath the surface there with these teens?
Teens are aware of what is happening in the world. They have these handheld devices that update them instantly on what's happening. We see very little of what is actually good that is happening. And the problems are so enormous. What that despair is, it's all the, it's the grief, it's the anger, it's all the hard and heavy and yucky feelings, but with a heavy dose of there's no hope and I can't do anything about this. I feel like they can't not be feeling that despair and that wondering, like, what on earth am I going to do with my life? What is out there for me career-wise with AI taking over so much of the employment? Just as one example, is the planet even going to be livable? I mean, I was asking that question when I was a teen. I've carried with me this gut level understanding that life on this planet might end in my lifetime. And that is something that is new, for my generation and after, really.
Yeah. I think a lot of, at least in America, a lot of people are kind of so overwhelmed, I guess, with everything that's going on. Some people are getting numb to it.
Yes.
And kind of ignoring it. And then you have others, which I think we're talking about with these teens that are so overwhelmed and they're internalizing it with this fear of like, there's nothing I can do. Everything is, crazy, scary, and they're not always speaking to their parents about this. That those lines of communication are not always open. I don't know if we as parents, my kids are older than teens, but I don't know if we would have had these conversations then,
Yes.
I don't think those conversations are happening.
I think they are happening for some, but maybe not for most. For better or for worse, I didn't shelter my own kids. So they've, been aware for much of their own lives. But as parents, something that we can really do for our kids, if we're not doing it already, is share how we're feeling, not try to make it look like we don't care when we care deeply. And it is really sharing how we're feeling, modeling that will hopefully over time make it comfortable for them to start speaking about how they're feeling. Aloneness is such a huge part of the despair problem. Letting our kids know how we feel and making ourselves available.
And what would you say to help parents who have a teen who is withdrawn and shut down and not communicating, which is common for teens anyway, not when the world is crazy? Parents really need to pay attention. Are these kids depressed? How do we figure out what's happening and how to help them?
It doesn't have to just be about the big global topics and that level of despair. It can also just be being really real with our teens about our own lives and our own struggles. And so for myself, the last 5 years has been about divorce, recognizing that I'm queer, bisexual, partnering with a woman who I've been with for 3 years. And so every step of that way, instead of feeling like I need to protect them or shield them, or they don't need to know this or that, really bringing them into the conversation, really sharing my truth. It's really about having the courage to have conversations that are uncomfortable and that we might question, oh, is this appropriate? Do they need to know this about me? And then young people who really are in a state of, shut down, not communicative, not really spending much time out of their bedroom or their bed.
That's what I think of as a teenager.
Yes.
That's the description.
Yes. And so some of that is absolutely normal. And some of that, moves across the line into we need to start worrying about this young person. But if there isn't really open communication happening, something that I like to recommend is just starting to slip your young person notes, put a little I love you under their door, or I see you, a little note at their spot in the dining table. Send them a text. Like the things that you might think of doing when you're in a new romantic relationship, right? The little heart emojis that you might send each other throughout the day. By the time we have teenagers, right? We've lived with these people for 13, 14, 15, 16 years. And so that little I'm thinking of you, I love you. That just little moment to say that is often kind of long forgotten. And so just bringing something like that in. And then another piece that I like to recommend that I love is outdoor fire. I call them sacred fires, campfires. If you're in a place where you can safely have outdoor fires, fire is such a beautiful transformative element. You can make it fun, you can have s'mores. The reason that humans like to sit in a circle, like why that is so connecting, is because in ancient times, when we cooked at the fire, we sat around the fire at night, we sat in a circle. The fire made us sit in a circle. And just that act of being outside, being in relationship to fire, sitting in something of a circle, even if that doesn't elicit, very deep, deep conversations, just being with that fire is transformative. Just staring into the flames. And that's another thing. Sometimes with a partner or a child, having a really important conversation, do it while you're in a car, because then there isn't an expectation of eye contact. You're both, kind of looking forward. So a fire really provides that same thing because our eyes are drawn to the flames. They're really not drawn to looking at the other people in the circle. Our eyes are so drawn to those transformative flames, and that can make it feel safer and more comfortable to get to a conversation that is uncomfortable because there isn't an expectation of eye contact there. But patience, none of these things that I'm suggesting is going to create an immediate shift or transformation. They're just, ideas.
Yeah. Well, I love sitting around a fire, but I think the example that you gave of a car, I would have never thought of that. I think that's a good takeaway. That's an easy one. I love that. Now, what are you aware of that are some examples of things that parents might be doing that are not intentional, but might be causing the teen to kind of shut down or not want to communicate as much as maybe another family might be communicating? What are some things that parents could be doing and they don't realize it?
Not being available, spending more time on our devices rather than communicating or being, in relationship with each other. But in moments of connection and communication, particularly if your young person is sharing, we can really shut them down. If we want to jump in with our own story about ourselves, or the oh, when I was your age, blah, blah, blah. That a little bit contradicts what I was saying before to really share your own stories. But I'm talking about right now, your child is really sharing with you. You want to shut your mouth and listen, and you want to listen with your full attention. And our wonderful brains wander. Notice when your brain wanders and bring it right back to listening to your young person. You don't want to correct anything that they've said. You don't want to fix them, or at least not in this moment. You don't want to give them your solutions to a problem that they might be sharing with you. That is a really quick way to shut someone down. Something that I've learned in my work, in addition to the shamanic healing, I've been on this journey of deep emotional tending work that is rooted in something called the work that reconnects. And really learning through that trying to solve someone else's problems is really the quickest way to shut a person down. They don't need solutions in this moment. They need to be heard.
Yes.
They need to be heard. That is something that is so rare in this world, is to be fully heard.
And that's not just with our teens. That's great advice for
Yes.
a friend, a family member, anybody opening up. I think that it's very, very common for a person to want to, because you're trying to help,
Yes.
you're like, oh, I know exactly what you should do. But
Yes.
if the taking it away from the teens, if it's a friend or a family member, if they just want to tell you something, they're really just looking for you to listen, unless they specifically asked you,
Yes.
do you have any ideas, or what do you think I should do? I think the quickest way to stop the conversation, like you said, is when someone's or you learn not to talk to that person because you're like, well, I can't, I'd like to share this, but I can't because I don't want to lecture, and I don't want them telling me what they think I should do. I just want to get it off my chest.
Yes.
So I'm glad you shared that. And I think that's applicable in all our relationships.
It is. And we can actually use our words to tell a person that we want to confide in, that I really need you to just listen, and I really do not want you to comment or try to fix or problem solve. When I want those things, I will ask for them. But right now, I really want you to just listen.
Yeah, that's good too, to empower whoever the person asking is. I like that. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to share about the parent-teen relationship or conversation?
Yes, in terms of what not to do. If your teen shares something with you that is about something that they shouldn't do, or they tried smoking weed or something, don't punish. If you punish, you're slamming the door on them trusting you with that information again. And we really want that information. We want to be able to know what our young people are doing, and we want to be able to help them. But punishing really just closes communication and really can destroy relationships.
Yeah. And they may have something related to that thing they weren't supposed to do that they really need help with, that they won't get if they don't speak with you, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
For me, it is so important to go back to the spirituality rooted in being connected to the earth and to the cosmos, to ourselves, and to each other. And so the shamanic spiritual path is exactly that. It's the most ancient way of connecting to those things and connecting to our own inner compass, to our spirit guides who help guide us, who help us know our own truth. That is what I really want for teens, so that they can navigate their world supported by their spirit guides, supported by an adult mentor who has lived the despair and has found the tools to climb and claw my way out of that place. Yeah.
And where can people find out more about your work?
sacraltransformations.com.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jennifer Robin. It's been really fun.
Thanks for watching. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was. Just drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more.